Hi there, welcome. Welcome to Homekeepers. Come right on in, my friends. So good to be here. So good to have you there. And just hang around with us. It's going to be a really, really good program, but I hope things are going well in your home and in your family. It's just the absolute truth that the prayer requests, and we get a lot of them, and we do pray for them, by the way. It's about the family. It's the prodigal, it's the marriage, it's the this, the that. And God is really interested in your family, my friends, and that's the reason for this program. And we want to do anything we can to help you with whatever's going on in your home. So you're welcome. Come right in. You're among friends. And I have a friend who's returned. She's been gone way too long. Rebecca Totillo has been on the show through the years, but it's been just quite a long time since the last time she was here. And she is just an amazing person because I think she's written some 50 books and such a wide range of topics. In other words, the girl's very smart. And I think of all the people I've known and being raised in the ministry, and you hear a lot of messages on end times and prophecies and all that. I think she's the best I've ever talked to about the bride of Christ, and that is so interesting. And we'll touch on all of those things, but let me warn you ahead of time, when her website comes up, write it down, because of all the books she has written, you can get them through that website. And as you hear her, I think you'll want to probably have some of her material for your own life and home. And I'm going to join Stephanie for the easiest chicken wings you've ever done. If you can't do this one, you probably should not be living alone. This is really easy, but I have a feeling it's going to taste wonderful. And there's a lot of times throughout the year you need that easy thing, and this, you could have everything in this one right on, right in your kitchen and do it quickly. So we'll show you how to do that. Before I join her, though, we have offered this to you before, but it's a wonderful book. And as I look through it, I'm amazed at the detail that Rebecca Totillo can get into on such a variety of subjects. Heal with essential oils, and we will be talking about that as much in the interview. The information and the research she's done on this is really quite amazing. The information's on your screen. It's $30 to Homekeepers, and we'll get it right out to you. The information for your credit card, debit card is there, as well as our address. So take advantage of this book, because a lot of people have had it, and I think they've gotten a lot of good education about this interesting subject. And how are you today?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. Do you agree with me that if people can't do this, they shouldn't be home alone?
Now, I'll tell you, those of you who watch us all the time, we've made this before, but it's so super simple and it's so yummy that it's always good to get a reminder, because a lot of times I'll make things at home and then I'll forget. And then I'll forget to make them again. And this is one of them. I made these at home right after we made them last time, and my husband loved them.
Really?
Yes.
Well, when you've done over 3,000 recipes, you might find some duplicates.
Right.
You just might.
Super simple, super easy. And while we're taping, the Super Bowl's coming up. Wings. So.
Also, just this basic sauce is out of this world, which is the secret. And we've got little chicken legs and wings and so forth. Well, how else would you use it? How would it be on just those chicken tenders?
I think it would be delicious.
Really?
On anything like that, because it's just a really yummy, easy sauce.
And you could do this on the grill?
With aluminum foil.
Yeah, a lot of aluminum.
Because you're talking a big mess. That's why the pan is lined in aluminum foil, because you'll be sorry if you don't, okay?
Yeah.
So it's so easy. The measurements are ridiculous. It's a half a cup of honey.
Isn't everything half a cup?
Yes.
Oh.
A half a cup of soy sauce and a half a cup of barbecue sauce. And that's it.
That's it.
And you mix it all together. Make sure you, again, aluminum foil in the pan. You
yeah,
won't be
and
one
thick.
sorry girl. Yes. You mix this all together.
Oh,
These were the, we separated the chicken. They were wings, drums, and everything together.
Everything you want.
We cut up, we got rid of the little end part that would burn anyway.
Are you sure you can do this?
Yeah, watch. This is.
I got some on my fingers. It's very good.
I wonder why Food Network doesn't call it. No.
Excuse me while I get a paper towel.
Okay. So just get this mixed up. You pour it off, pour it over. You bake it for, it's at 375 for at least probably an hour.
Oh,
it's
yes.
2 pounds. What the recipe gives you is for 2 pounds of wings, but you want to make sure they're really, really done and really, really not. I mean, the juices need to run clear.
Who would ever want anything chicken that's not just finished,
like so
just cooked to the bone?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, are you ready?
Oh,
here we
gosh,
go.
You're brilliant.
I know.
You
Here
are
we go.
brilliant.
And they look so good. They
Okay, what would
smell-
you serve with this?
Oh, probably blue cheese, you know, celery and blue cheese. Maybe French, you know, French fries. Because I'm thinking Super Bowl,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you usually fix for the Super Bowl?
We usually get wings.
Do you?
Yeah.
You get them or you fix them?
I usually get them, but I might fix them.
Save a little money. I would just go
You'd save
over
a lot of money if you make your own wings. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah. Well,
A lot.
I mean, we have offered them a really great idea. I mean, your 5th grader could do this.
There you go.
I think that's pretty hot.
Here, let me get you this little piece. I'll just get you that little piece off right there. There you go. There, just try
Yeah,
that.
just a little.
I remember. So good.
It is.
So tasty. So
it's-
simple.
Of all the recipes we've ever done, this one really has a lot going for it. Mainly because of the simplicity, but it really does taste
You
good.
could add some garlic in there. I mean, you could doctor it up a little bit more if you wanted to.
Ooh, that's good. I
Yeah.
had a little bite. That's good. Sometimes when you take a bite, it comes around and says, "Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's good."
Yeah, it's so
that's
good.
what happened. All right, you can have this recipe for absolutely nothing. The information's coming up on your screen. Various ways you can get it, but email's fastest, and we'll be glad to get it out to you. If you haven't met Rebecca Totillo, you are going to be delighted to see how smart she is.
If you would like a copy of today's recipe, you may receive it by contacting us through social media as listed on the screen. When requesting a copy through the mail, be sure to include a self-addressed stamped envelope. Thank you, and please know we always appreciate hearing from our viewers.
Well, welcome back to Homekeepers.
Oh, thank you.
This is one lady that I never know where you are.
I know.
You're here, there, you're there, and writing a lot, obviously. I'd like to know the kind of home you grew up in that would set you on a course to do such.
Well, it wasn't this.
Really? No, kidding.
No,
It wasn't Sunday school?
No, my mom was a homemaker. My father was an electrician, and they stayed in, we grew up in one home. We never moved from it, and had 3 older sisters. We all went to college. That was, I think.
Did you go to church?
Oh, not really. We were raised a pagan. So, yeah, we did the
Amazing.
seances and the Ouija board and all that kind of stuff.
The Ouija board?
Yeah,
No
but
kidding.
I think it was because as a child I had an awakening or a thirst for prophecy and, wanting to understand
Future.
things. Right. But it was just misplaced. It was just being directed in the wrong way. When I came to about 12 years old, my sister came home and was telling everybody about being born again. So I was very curious and wanted to know more about that. And so I became a
Where
born
did
again.
she become born again?
She just attended a revival and got saved.
That's what happened.
Just a random
Yeah.
revival that was going on. And it was actually in a Jewish synagogue that had been used by the church. And so, as I told you, I think the last time I was here, I was sort of bored with all that going on downstairs, so I went upstairs and was digging up in the attic and found a bunch of scrolls and things that were left from the synagogue. And, and so years later, here I came upon understanding the Bible from a Hebraic standpoint and looking at the Hebrew and how it relates to the New Testament commentary on the Old is really what it is.
I think you ought to write a book about your life.
Yeah, I think so. I probably
Because
should.
when I first met you, you were traveling and
Yes.
speaking constantly, and your subject was the Bride of Christ.
Yes.
And as I said at the top of the program, you educated me in a way, even growing up in a minister's home and
Right.
having prophecy evangelists and so forth, come back and forth.
Exactly.
It seemed to me like you brought the Old Testament, New Testament together on the bride of Christ.
Yeah, I think that's the way it's supposed to be. I'm spending a lot of time more now looking more on with a critical eye of the commentary of the New Testament and the writers and how they put it together, because there's a lot of pieces that are missing. Some of it's disjointed, some of it doesn't make any sense because one gospel says this, another says this, as far as the retelling of, let's say, the resurrection of Yeshua. And I'm trying to fit it all together in my mind, because I've had to really step back and say, you know, I'm not just going to take what's put in front of me. It's like eating a bad diet for 25 years and now it catches up with you. So I'm fighting the bulge, and after menopause, and I'm fighting the bulge of bad Christianity. I feel like I've had to just really step back and say, what is true? What really is the deal? You know, and maybe a lot of people don't want to do that. They would rather just go to church, be fed, be happy, content with what they've received. Whereas I've had to stop and say, no more fast food, no more fast food doctrine. I don't want to hear the fast, quip, punchy, you know, stuff. I'm all done with that.
I know what you mean. I kind of
so now I'm really stepping into more from a scholar standpoint of looking at the writings and who wrote the books, when were they published, and how did it come to be a
now,
part
will
of
a book
the
come out of
scripture?
this?
I don't know. I'm so critical at this point. I feel like I've been a little bit too cynical in the last couple of years, because I've my own research was out of my passion and desire to know Yeshua, not just as God or as a Savior, but as a personal, someone who's very intimately involved in my life. And that was the way I viewed him. You know, that's how I came to know him. It wasn't, like I said, not being raised in a church, that changes your way of approach to how you would know him.
Some interesting things have happened, though, since you and I were together, and we think of the rapture of the church. I think there's a lot of things right now that say, boy, it's close.
Well, we are seeing a lot of things that are being played out, if you will. When I look at the book of Revelation, and when we talk about the woman with child who, was out in the wilderness, this is all played out in the stars, in the constellations. In fact, this last fall, we saw that this was, in fact, what John was writing about on the island of Patmos. And so we're seeing it played out right here in front of us. If anybody would just step outside and look up, they would see the whole story being told.
Well, it's an exciting life,
yeah,
that's for sure. I wanted to go through some of your titles and then revisit a little bit the Healing with Oil. How many books have you written?
52.
52. That's what I thought.
And a couple of them are textbooks. Unfortunately, that's when you get way, the last couple have been the aromatherapy certification program. And I've had to go back and restudy everything, because I've written about botany, chemistry, anatomy and physiology and all that in light of the essential oils. So I'm looking at it from a standpoint of how they chemically affect your body when you ingest them, when you inhale them, or when you rub them on your skin.
Yep. Let me get these and we'll come back to that, okay? This one surprised me because, like I say, you're not in just one lane at all. Christian Girl's Guide to Money.
Right. I love money. I mean, I love to make money. I should say that. When I was a kid, I was one of those kids that would have yard sales and circuses in my backyard to raise money, just to get enough to go get an ice cream at the baseball field. I was selling Avon when I was about 10 to 11 years old. Of course, they didn't know that.
Okay,
I don't want to get them in trouble.
Question, yeah.
So I started selling Avon just because I wanted to make my own money. My quarter allowance was not enough.
Well, is that what inspired you to write a book with that title?
Well, the publisher actually picked that title, but it was about money and how to manage your money. I think that's one of the biggest issues that there is in light of relationships, families. We're always dealing with it in our home as far as how the money should be spent, how it should be managed, I think stewardship is the huge,
Absolutely.
biggest thing. You can't be of any service to God if you are not able to bless.
God,
you know what I'm saying?
yeah, well,
You got to
God-
be able to give. And if you're poor, how can you give?
He doesn't want his people in debt.
No, absolutely not.
And that
it's
is the
slavery.
American way, but he doesn't want you to.
No, don't
I
feel
gotta read
bad.
that.
Let me tell you about debt, okay? Speaking of debt, yeah, I love to spend. I could be maybe classified as a shopaholic, maybe, but I love to spend. I love to shop. I don't go to malls, by the way. I don't go shopping for that reason because everything is new and shiny and I want it. But when we went out on the road with ministry, I was ministering all over the country, and we had a motorhome, and it was breaking down all the time. So we were using a credit card to take care of our needs because the offering of a couple of $100 wasn't enough to even put gas in the tank versus fixing things. So we really dug ourselves a hole, and by the time we got back, all said and done, and this is the shocker, we were $70,000 in debt, and that's not including the cost of the RV. This was just credit card debt. So yeah, it was really not right. It was terribly wrong, but our expectation and our business sense wasn't there. You know, we weren't managing things right. We were not looking at, wait a minute, you're spending $1,000 to get to this point. A $200 offering is not going to cover your expenses. So how are you going to make up for this?
Let's see.
Yeah, the math doesn't work.
minus 200.
So we were digging a hole, and so when we came back, we were very distraught and very, grieved. But that was what the next time around, and I got a little smarter. I started putting things on the table. I started doing the Dale Carnegie practice of, having books and products for sale to help support our ministry. And I kept everything separate. Our home expenses were run separately from the ministry. I never mixed the two. But just to bring you forward a little bit and save you all the gory details of that trip.
Oh, I don't know.
With
70,000
children, we had 2 cats, 4 children. The children, some of them were still in the pull-ups, the pipe Pampers. But they were growing up in an RV, and so when we came back, again, I was telling my husband, go get a job, go get a job, go get a job. I want to get out of this mess. So that's when I was inspired to start the aromatherapy writing and the books and the course. It was in the needs that I saw on the road with people being sick, ill. They can't hear the gospel if they're sick because their pain is screaming at them. And they were ill, and that's what they would come up and say, will you pray for me? And they would tell me what their health issue was. So I realized that was what was beginning to bubble up in me, was the need to tell and help people on that physical area of their needs. And in doing so, I began to really focus, and I kid you not, I slept in the shop. I was just so mentally, tunnel vision to, we have to pay off this debt. This is not a good thing. We lost our RV. We were homeless for over 2.5 weeks living in my shop. But all of that happened, and I got the books and I got the courses started, and I started writing and just saying, this is going to be paid. And I started writing, I am debt free, I am debt free, I am debt free. I would take a bank statement, I would color out all the numbers and leave the zero and just stare at it. And then I began to say, this has got to happen. Don't know how it's going to happen. But then I talked to the banks, and after they took the RV and they sold it at auction for $50,000, they said, so by the way, you owe us.
You owe us the
you still owe us
leftover,
the rest of the money, right? And so that wasn't the credit card debt. Again, I'm still working on the credit card debt. And all of that came together, and I was like, this has to happen. I cannot move forward with this debt. I have to have this freedom.
It saps you.
Yeah.
It takes.
I wasn't going to declare
your energy,
bankruptcy.
It takes your mental
Right. I said, no.
thoughts.
You know what? My name is on the line. And if God is behind me, then my name must be honored.
Yeah.
And so I would tell them every time they'd call and say, where's your money? How are you going to pay this off? I would tell them the whole story of my journey. And they would go, okay, ma'am, just how are you going to pay this? They don't want the story. They just want to know. But I was telling it as a testimony. I was saying, you're going to see God move. Well, sure enough, I finally got to a point where I wanted this free. And so it was only a matter of 4 or 5 months. They came to an agreement and says, okay, if you pay us X amount, which was like $40,000 or $50,000, by April, which was like 3 or 4 months, will set you free, right? They're going to write off the interest of what you didn't use on the loan, because it was going to take me until 85 years old to pay it off, and I knew that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, I will do that, which meant I was going to be making $9,000 and $10,000 payments. Hello, who has that kind of money, right? But it came in. It came in, and I had a 1 month to spare.
Praise
I paid them in advance, and I had the debt-free, own the business. I've been able to buy a car in cash, buy a tiny house, by the way, in cash. You know, and so that's the way I operate now. I don't do any debt. The business is a wonderful way to bless people physically in their health, as well as empower people to get off of the pharmaceutical drugs. You know,
I love Dave Ramsey, and love to listen to him when I can on the radio. And what a story he has on finances. But he'll always have couples that sound like you.
Yeah.
You know, that had 40, 50, some of them over $100,000 in debt. And they would work it out, get it off, and then they come on his show and scream, "We're debt free."
Well, you know, I listened to him, and I was like, the baby steps. Get the $1,000 saved up for your your emergency
fund. Did you follow his plan
I
somewhat?
did to a certain point.
Yeah.
I mean, I was listening to everything. I was taking it from all directions. I was listening to books day and night. I was meditating on it. I was focused in saying, this does not bring God's glory. It is not a pleasing sight to Him to be in bondage to someone else.
That's exactly.
So you got to get free. You have
to. To any new viewers or all, and you know the American way with the credit card and all that. That's not God's way, and I hope that you can be debt free. I've been debt free for a long time, and it's wonderful because you can meet needs, or you can be in a restaurant. I've had this happen where the Lord just say, tip her more. Like I looked at one little waitress one day, I thought, I bet she's a single mom. She's working hard, she's on her feet all day. And what a wonderful thing that you can bless. Another thing I do, I've got 2 grandsons who know nothing but a card. They're paid with a card.
Right.
So I when I go out, I give them like $10 or $20. Say, this is cash.
Right.
This is what this is called cash. I want you to carry it in your billfold, and I don't want you to spend it, which of course they do, because I said the whole grid could come down, and none of these cards would work, But that's all they know.
Right.
And I think there's a lot of Americans, all they know is debt.
Well, I understand that. I mean, I get it. And the whole system,
it's convenient.
It is. And that's the way it's built. To buy a home, you got to take out a loan. To buy a car, you got to get
cars,
a loan.
I mean,
things like that.
Right.
And they're big purchases. Now
house,
I've dug my heels in to say, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I'm waiting until I have enough to pay cash,
Yep.
Yeah.
We've been talking about money. We'll have to have you come back and talk about the rest of this stuff. Several books on the bride. I'd really like to talk about those when you come back, because every day it's getting closer and closer and closer. We're really going to be the bride to Jesus.
To be spotless and to be without blemish is what we're talking about, and it's not just a physical. It's a manifestation of being pure in your heart and walking in truth, not to be lazy or sluggish like the foolish virgins were. You've got to be prepared and have your trim your wicks and have your light.
I have a long history in the church. My grandfather was a preacher, and then on down. I've got a copy of his ordination certificate, 1895.
Oh, wow.
A whole family full of preachers. And there was so much about prophecy and that Jesus is coming. We sang about heaven. And I wonder if we've got a couple of generations now that's almost foreign to them, because we have a lot of self-help and how I can be a better me, and a lot of psychology that fitting into, trying to fit into Christianity. And yet, we lived a certain way, a little bit of fear, that if the Lord came and we were not living the way that we should. And I think what you deal with really needs a renaissance or something in the church.
Right. Well, that was the thing. I think it was an abstract thought to these people, because it wasn't like, okay, that's pretty and nice, but how does that apply to right now
Yeah.
where I'm living,
Yeah.
you know, what I'm dealing with, because I wasn't dealing with what they were experiencing. For instance, sickness. I never went to a doctor for the years we were in that RV. You know what I mean? It was just we were all healthy, and we didn't know what they were going through, you know, as far as experiencing it personally. But I would always pray and ask the Lord to show me, Lord, I want to know that this is true. I want to know what I'm saying is right. You know, it's just not, science alone, but I want to know that it's the real deal, you know. So
But not only that, just what the Bible says about this is going to happen, this is going to happen, and then he's coming back. And it's happening. I mean, it's on TV every night. It's in the newspapers, and now all the upset in the Middle East because we're going to move our embassy to Jerusalem. There's so many things: the floods, the fires, the earthquakes. All of that says he's
the
coming.
birth pains. They're birth pains.
Yeah. I remember my birth pains. I don't know. I don't know about
those too. We were glad when they were over, weren't we? Yeah. And I think that, it could be a reprieve if things are ordered properly. You know what I'm saying? I'm seeing there's that battle between right and wrong and good and evil. I mean, you see the battle of that going on all the time. So I think, like, I know my children, a couple of them like to spend a lot of time in politics. They watch and listen and all that, where I sort of have to step back from it because I have to stay focused on what's in front of me.
It's not our home.
Yeah,
This is not,
don't get
do you know
so-
we're out of time?
Oh, no.
I need a 2-hour program with you, but I'm glad you're not too far away. I do hope you got the website. I meant to point it to you during the interview, but she keeps me kind of focused. That's where you can learn more about Rebecca Totillo and all the books that she's written and the variety of subjects. And it's just always a delight to have her come on. And I hope that I hope you'll go there because there is so much to offer. And as I mentioned at the top of the program, we offered the Heal with Essential Oils book. We've offered it before. It is available from Homekeepers for that gift of at least $30. And I do hope you're thinking about the fact that Jesus is going to come back. He said he would. He's always done everything he said he would. And it's important that we live in our homes and be the kind of homekeepers to keep that home ready for his coming. Please join me next time, remembering there's no higher calling, none than that of a homekeeper. God bless you.
If you should miss a Homekeepers program, you can catch up by going to www.ctnonline.com. Click on CTN Programs and then on Homekeepers.